Hey everyone, welcome to my Season 11 Jungle Guide for Beginners. I wanted to create this video for Season 11. So far has been very different from previous seasons in terms of ideal pathing and clearing. This guide will be valuable for experienced and non-experienced players alike. I will be providing sections within the video so you can skip ahead of the parts that you maybe know already if you are a more experienced player, but be sure to watch through everything if you are plat or below. I will be going over champion selection, clear pathing, ganking, ideal back timers, neutral objectives, and finally grouping and team fighting. Also, quick note guys, I do stream daily as well where I play in high diamond solo queue, so if you guys are interested in learning firsthand, give my Twitch a follow. I stream daily and my Twitch is twitch.tv Kewllkiddo. Alright everyone. So let's start by defining jungle as a role and what you should be accomplishing in your games while playing jungle. I will say that not every single jungle champion in League of Legends is the same, but you have similar goals no matter who you are playing. So I'll outline these all for you to understand. Firstly, you want to keep in mind that your role as a jungler is to snowball your lanes, which basically means get them a lead over their opponents, to get more objectives in the enemy team, which in the end will result in you winning the game. This means you should be getting more dragons, more rift heralds, more barons, more towers than the enemy jungler. If you do this consistently, you'll win more games and your team will like you a lot more. Now, I understand this is a lot easier said than done, so we will be going over exactly how to accomplish that in this video. Alright guys, let's go over picking a champion for jungling. In my opinion, this is one of the most important parts of being a great jungler. You need to make sure that you're picking a champion that fits your playstyle, and you should be mastering said champion. This will allow you to improve at a much faster rate than say if you go and play 10 different champions and you aren't playing any of them well. You want to know your champion's limits inside and out, and if you can accomplish this, you will over time start performing better than those you are playing with, allowing you to either play better or climb the rank ladder, whatever your goals are. So try your best to identify your playstyle and work around that. If you enjoy being very proactive in the early game and making plays for your team, look at champions like Kha'Zix, Udyr, or Hecarim. Or if you enjoy more of a utility or support for your team, look at champions like Zac, Sejuani, or Ivern. And if you enjoy outscaling and popping off late game, look at champions like Graves, Kindred, or Karthus. Once you identify your playstyle, stick to a couple champions that play with that style and then master them. You'll see huge improvements very quickly. Alright everyone, now that we've gone over champion select, let's go over actual in-game clear pathing for both red and blue side, including full clears, 3 camp ganks, and invading clear paths where you actually go into the enemy's jungle and you try and fight them. So we'll start with the ideal clear pathing for both red and blue side as of Season 11. That would be a full clear. As of this time, all of the top junglers clear this way, so it's very important to do this to not get yourself behind. Now, I will be giving other examples of different options, but this is the most consistent option as of right now. And that will change throughout the season as new patches come out and whatnot, but as of right now, I do recommend just practicing full clears and doing this. Season 11 is much more dependent on ensuring you're doing full clears as fast as possible than previous seasons, for if you don't, and the enemy jungle does, you will set yourself very far behind very quickly. When your red buff is bottom side, you want to start red, into Krugs, into Raptors, into Wolves, then into blue buff, into Gromp. And then finally, you want to get that Scuttle Crab on the top side. When your blue buff is bot side, you want to clear your blue, into then your Gromp, into your Wolves, into your Raptors, into then red Krugs, into the top Scuttle. Now there will be times when you can switch the side you start clearing on, and an example of this is when you're matched against an enemy jungler who is stronger than you early. This comes down to game knowledge and understanding your champion, which we went over previously, but say you're playing Evelyn, for example, and you're playing against an Elise, it's in your best interest to try and avoid her. So instead of starting bot side, where either your blue buff or red buff is, you want to start top side where your top laner is, to avoid her and just to clear every single camp in the same order that I described before, and that way when you get to the bottom side jungle, you can basically take that scuttle uncontested and you won't need to worry about having to fight their jungler early, which in this particular scenario would be disadvantageous for you. So make sure you really understand your champion so that you know when to start which side. But always try to do a full clear no matter which side you do start on. Now, There are some situations where you can be doing a 3 camp gank, which is kind of a cheese strategy. Whenever I see this in like Diamond solo queue, it always pisses somebody off when it happens, whether it's successful or not, because you generally just don't see it coming, and that's why it does work, is because, you know, players are just like, this isn't going to happen, and then it does happen, and then you're like, okay, it's kind of annoying, right? So on some champions you can look for something like this. This is something I only recommend you do sometimes to catch your opponents off guard, though. Like, don't do it very consistently. Essentially, you will generally just clear 3 of the closest camps to where you were starting your clear from. So say you start red buff, you'd go red, Krugs, Raptors, and then you look for a gank. Generally, that gank would be mid lane. But some champions, like Nunu, can look for a bot lane gank with his big snowball. And Nunu, you can actually do it level 2 instead of level 3. You could literally just clear your buff and then go straight bot lane, which sometimes is pretty annoying for the enemy bot laners. But yeah, like I said, only do this sometimes. Only try to do it to catch your opponents off guard every once in a while. Or if you're playing for fun games and normals, like, go for it, whatever. But if you're trying to climb the rank ladder, I wouldn't recommend doing this every single game, because for the times that it doesn't work out, generally speaking, the enemy jungler will have a full clear done, and they'll be like 2 or 3 camps ahead of you by the time you get back to your jungle if it doesn't work out. So I don't recommend doing it all the time. And then we'll also talk about the invading clear path. This is the third, I guess, clear path you can start with early as jungle. This is good when you are against a weaker early game jungler. This can be a nice option to get yourself a lead early. The clear path goes your bot side buff, followed by your closest camp, which, say you're starting red buff, it would be Krugs, or you can skip all the way up to Gromp. So you can go red buff, Gromp, blue buff, and then you run straight into the enemy's jungle on the top side, and you'll get there just before they do, basically. So you'll be there, you'll have more health than them. And you can either wait for them at their Raptor camp, or try and fight them at their Raptor camp, or just chill at their red buff for a little bit if you're started boss side blue buff. And yeah, just go for a fight there. It'll work pretty well for you, and you'll get a good lead. You'll either be able to push the enemy jungler outside of their jungle and force them to recall, and you get their buff, or you'll get the buff and you'll just leave and they'll be down a camp, basically. So either or, it's pretty decent. Only, like I said, I only recommend doing this when you do have an actual stronger early game than the enemy jungler, which once again goes back to understanding your champion. So make sure you guys are mastering, you know, a couple champions so that you understand them very, very well. All right, everyone, let's get into that fun stuff. We'll talk about ganking here. So ganking is pivotal to you and your team's success while playing jungle for obvious reasons. I mean, the first reason a gank is important because it allows you to either force an enemy back to base or get a kill, which allows you and your team to focus on important game-winning objectives on the map, right? So the second reason I'd say ganking is so vital is because providing leads to other members of your team maximizes your chance of victory. An entire fed team is a lot more scary than, say, just one person being fed, right? So you want to be trying to pressure the map and ganking at ideal times, and we'll talk about that a bit as well. So generally speaking, with jungle in its current state, you don't want to be ganking before you clear your initial full clear. I did go over certain clear paths where you can do that. Like, so unless you're cheesing, I mean, you can go for something crazy, but as a general rule of thumb, it's more consistent to not do that. After you finish your first full clear, so once you clear all of your camps and you just finish either the bottom or the top rift scuttle, depending on which side you started on, you can look for a gank on one of the side lanes in the river. So whichever 2 side lanes are facing you, if one of the lanes are super overextended. However, if nobody is overextended and none of your camps are up, it's best for you to just not try and force anything because it can end up badly. So you just want to recall and then just go for another full clear in your jungle. Just go to the camp that's respawning next, which is the first one that you would have cleared on your initial full clear, and just continue going at it. And while you're doing your full clear the second time around, you can really keep an eye out, constantly scanning and just looking at your mini-map to look for lanes that are overextended. But if nobody's overextended and nobody's gankable, and it's not like a for sure either getting their flash or a kill or an assist, right? Just don't bother. Just keep clearing your jungle and power farming, but always be scanning your map. Always be looking for that opportunity. But if it's not there, don't worry about it. And if you're doing a full clear and you're clearing your gromp, and there's somebody overextended way across the other side of the map, and it just doesn't make sense for you to run across the entire map because it'll take you like 10 years to get there. Don't bother. In most cases, I mean, unless there's like a 10-man engage or something, don't bother. Like just keep doing your thing. And yeah, only gank when it's necessary, and when you see people that are like just illegally overextended, and it just shouldn't be allowed, right? So just get in there and get free kills in those situations. Another thing I wanted to touch on real briefly is ideal back timers. Back timers can be really vital and important to understanding. For example, when you do your first full clear as a jungler, if there's no ganks available, like I was saying earlier, you do want to back there. If you keep on dilly-dallying around wasting time, and the enemy jungler does back, they'll have a pretty big item advantage on you at that point, so you won't be able to duel with them, which is not ideal. So you always kind of want to be making note of that in your head. Outside of your initial full clear, other ideal back timers are it's a pretty simple rule of thumb. You basically just want to be backing when there's no camps up and there's no ganks available, right? Or after you take like an epic neutral objective, like say Baron Nashor. It's always good to reset right after you take Baron or Elder Dragon, for example, just because you get a lot of gold from these objectives, and it's good to spend that and also get your health back because they're not the easiest to take. Also, of course, when you're really low on health, don't try running around your jungle clearing camps. Like say if you're like a couple hundred health, maybe like 100 health or so, it's not worth it. I mean, I've been executed. I think everyone has at some point in time. Just back if you're really too low, and you need the health. It's always good to back then too. Also, if the enemy jungler invades you and you're like 100 health and you die, I mean, you're giving away a lot of gold. So just try your best to avoid that as well. All right, let's get to the last section here, neutral objectives. So that includes Dragon, Baron, Rift Herald, and I will be going over when to go for them as well, because that's actually pretty important. A lot of newer players don't really understand when it's good to go for Dragon, when it's good to go for Baron, when it's good to go for Rift Herald. And actually, I would say the majority of the player base actually doesn't really understand this. I would say most silver players, most gold players, and most plat players too, they actually still don't fully understand when to go for these objectives. So this will actually prove to be extremely valuable for everyone listening, I believe. Most people that are listening to this, I imagine, are going to be like Challenger or something. They'll probably be in there, or new to the game as well, just learning, right? So first, let's go over dragons. Dragons are an extremely important part of winning your games as a jungler. Each dragon you kill gives your team a global buff that applies to everyone in the game. For those of you who don't fully understand dragons, there are 4 different kinds of dragons, each with their own special soul ability when you successfully kill 4 dragons. The dragons are Infernal, which gives your team a global attack damage / ability power buff. Then we have the Ocean Dragon, which gives your team global health regeneration. We have the Mountain Dragon, which gives your team a global armor and magic resist boost. It's a percentage boost. And then we finally have Cloud, which gives everyone on your team ultimate ability haste, which means it just basically makes your ultimate have a lower cooldown, that little timer that comes up when you use it. These buffs are immense over the course of the game, and they really add up the more that you get. So as a jungler, you should be securing these kinds of objectives, which in short will help you actually win games in the end, right? Whenever dragons are up and you get some kills, either mid or bot, go for the dragon. So say you just gank bot lane, maybe you got a couple of kills, you want to go straight to dragon. You get 1 or 2 kills bot lane, you go straight to dragon, and you ping your bot lane to come with you. Just tell them like, hey guys, just like spam ping it, say put like on my way pings or assist me pings, and just say like, hey guys, come take this objective with me, we need to get this, in chat maybe, right? Just to let them know. The reason why you always want to do it when you get a kill or 2 is because you have numbers advantage, and if the enemy team does try to contest said dragon, you will win the fight more than likely, unless somebody's giga fed, which normally isn't the case at that stage of the game. All right, so now let's go over Rift Herald. Rift Herald is a nice neutral monster to kill on the top side of the map. If you get it early enough, around 11 to 12 minutes, you can drop it in a lane and then get some free tower plates. It gives you 2 tower plates to be exact, which equates to either 320 gold if you're alone, or if you're sharing it with an ally, it gives you both 160 gold. It does split it. Because these tower plates give you and your teammate an immense amount of gold, it's basically either a full kill worth of gold or half a kill worth of gold if you're sharing it. It's very helpful for snowballing games. Not to mention, Herald is also great at, destroying towers, so if there is a tower with maybe 2 plates left and it's the first tower of the game, you get an insane amount of gold, even more than I was saying before. So it's a fantastic objective to go for. When Dragon is down and your entire jungle is cleared and all your lanes are pushed and not gankable, you can actually very easily solo Rift Herald by just hitting it in the eye on the back of it. So you just want to try to get these objectives in these times and drop it into one of your pushed lanes so you can get some free money for your team. Alright, and then finally we'll get into Baron. So Baron is an incredibly strong buff. It completely shifts games. It spawns at 20 minutes into the game and replaces where the Rift Herald was before. Much like Dragon, you want to be taking Baron when you get picks on the enemy jungle, slash 2 or more enemy players. The reason you don't go for Baron as actively as Dragon is because it's much harder to kill. So you have to be careful around this objective, just because there are situations where, for example, you're against somebody like maybe a Kennen or a Vladimir, champions with a lot of AoE damage or AoE like crowd control, which means like stuns and they can hold you in place, and they can basically just rush you in the pit even if they don't have numbers advantage, because Baron does so much damage to your team over time. They can come in there and just clean you guys up when you're low on health. The buff is, so you have to keep in mind that the buff is so strong that if the enemy team is greatly behind and they manage to like steal it from you, it will put them into a stronger spot than your team. So between like the gold that it gives them and the extremely strong attack damage and the ability power it gives, and of course also the empowered recall, and the buff minions, the aura that buffs the minions that are around them, it makes things very easy for them to get back into the game. So you want to avoid losing this objective, and you only want to take it when, like I said, you get 2 or more picks. Once you do get the objective, you want to be grouping mid with your team, or grouping in a lane where there's a bunch of towers and just sieging down those towers and taking them out. So whenever you secure the objective, you just go run it down mid basically with your team and secure some towers and inhibitors. You should be able to always get an inhibitor with Baron if you play it right. Now solo queue games are not perfect obviously, but just try not to die for free and just group mid with your team once you have Baron. Always don't like dilly-dally around, just reset, group mid, push down a tower. Don't farm, don't go bot lane for like a wave and like farm like jungle camps or whatever. Like just recall straight down mid. Just don't waste a single second of that buff, because you can win games with it. So yeah, that's about it for the neutral objectives. Thank you to everyone who watched us through to the end, and please do not forget to subscribe and leave a like if this helped you at all. I will be making more videos like this one in the future, so please go to the comments and let me know your thoughts, and give me some recommendations maybe for future videos. Also, feel free to join my Discord community. I will provide that link in the description as well as on screen. I will have a shareable link that you can join into, and do not forget to follow my Twitch channel as well, which once again will also be in the description and I will also have on screen here. But yeah, thank you once again everyone, and peace out.